This is Pastors Live, a Rev FM production podcast. Join Pastors Dave, Ty, and Shane for a fresh, fun, and often unpredictable take on faith, the Bible, and the world around us.
You know, speaking of that, I'm just saying, have you guys been following all the Artemis stuff? Like
Oh, yeah.
Like
Artemis 2?
Yeah, Artemis 2 and all that stuff, man. By the way, I'm getting a kick out of all the people that are saying it's conspiracy theory. It really didn't happen. I know.
I had a guy in my home last week.
They didn't do that.
Who said, it's not true because the earth is flat. And this guy, great guy. I like this guy a lot. But I'm looking at it, I kept waiting for the punchline. And he, serious as a heart attack.
Huh.
And I just was like, I don't know, bro. What do you think about eclipses? Because if the earth was flat, we wouldn't have eclipses. It doesn't.
Well, and you see the roundness of everything.
Yeah, well, of course. If you've ever
Through
been
the
up
glasses.
if you've ever been up to 30,000 feet in a plane,
Yeah.
Right.
you know the earth is round.
Snipers use spin drift. They have to calculate spin drift on their bullets.
Right? Seriously.
you go.
The earth is not flat.
Right. So I've got people saying to me, Artemis 2 is a hoax because I've been posting a lot of stuff. I love the whole crew. Interesting crew, Christians on that crew. Did you see the Easter message that came from?
Oh, buddy,
come on,
buddy.
dude.
Oh,
and
I was like,
they're
almost
Christians.
yeah.
They're not up there, or they're not sitting in a sound studio somewhere going, "Yeah, the Earth's flat," but we're going to tell everybody, dude. It's just not. No, you're wrong.
It's really strange because okay, so they launched on April 1st, so therefore it was an April Fool's gag, and so it was all. It boggles my mind, but man, I'll tell you what, when you get a flat earther rolling, they're gonna roll. Well, sorry, that
Sliding.
Sorry, that.
and God bless me, but there are people who really truly believe it, and I'm just like, man, the science isn't with you. I'm sorry, it's just not.
Right. I think
I'm not a flat earther, but I'm on the conspiracy theorists for the whole NASA stuff. So I know you guys might disagree or whatever, but I am the minority here.
Were they in a sound studio?
No, I believe they actually shot a rocket and stuff like that, but I don't think we've ever went to the moon. I don't think
Even though Artemis 2 took the pictures of the lunar modules that are still sitting there.
If you look at some of those pictures, dude, it's like, it looks kind of fishy.
So
if you have a really
you'll have to talk to the
satellite,
captain who was a Christian.
Can't you see the flag up there?
That's I'm not trying to poke any problems or anything like that. I'm just saying it's just kind of weird to me. So. And that's okay. I can be wrong. I can be totally wrong.
I like that, Shane. I like different stuff. I like different stuff.
I'm not saying.
Was it Buzz Aldrin that took communion, the communion up and all? I mean, I don't know, bro. I got to tell you, I would have a hard time arguing with these guys who are so committed to Christ and reading scriptures from space, taking communion in space, and then say to them, I think you guys are fibbers.
I didn't say that they didn't go to space. I just said I have a hard time with some of NASA's stuff.
Well,
I agree with that.
But here's an interesting thing. Isaiah. Are you guys familiar with Isaiah 40:22?
Yes, of course.
Isaiah 40:22 says, "He sits enthroned above the circle of the earth." Right?
It's the word sphere, by the way.
Yeah,
it's where we get our word sphere.
Yeah, the Hebrew word. I can't pronounce it, but it looks like chug, chug, right? But it's circle, horizon, or curved, or sphere. It's that beautiful picture, and it is. And also, I mean, it's just so beautiful. And some of the pictures and some of the weirdness that I've seen, though, it boggles my mind, because it seems like some people just want to keep us distracted.
Sure.
I don't know if you've noticed any distractions recently. Please do understand that I do have a problem when with some of the AI images that have come out recently. It's really troubled me regarding political leaders and things like that. I need to point out something. There is one God, and He will not be mocked, and that is a great. That's a. You don't mess around with those things. I mean, so I think some of this stuff is just nuts that's going on. But Shane, I'm going to see if I can get you a trip to the moon. By the way, I'm going to see if I can get you set up. It's
Elon.
Oh yeah, Elon.
True believer. True believer, Shane.
Is it 2028? They're planning on putting a gas station. It's not a gas station, but it's a fueling station on the
center
moon,
or whatever.
so that as they're heading to Mars, they can stop off at the moon, refuel, go to Mars and back to the moon, refuel, back to the Earth.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's
We got to have
2028.
gas station attendants, Shane. I think you and I can handle that.
Sinclair, dude.
Yeah.
Come on.
By the way, just so you know, on the moon it's going to be full service.
Nice.
Yeah,
Right,
you have to wear
and
the little white hat.
Will
though,
Dean
if
have
they're-
his amazing glazed donuts in the convenience shop there on the moon?
He better.
Right?
He
Or I'm
better.
not going. I'll just tell you right now.
You make him out of moon dust.
Hey, speaking of Shane, Brandon from Rigby says, I appreciated what Shane said about growth not always meaning struggles disappear. That helped take some of the pressure off. I hope Brandon is not upset about your flat Earth theory.
No,
Shane.
I'm
He's
not
not
flat
he's not
Earth.
flat Earth.
I'm not flat Earth. That's just ridiculous. That's
He
too
jumped
far.
on that one in a heartbeat.
I am not flat Earth.
No.
That's too far.
Brandon,
That's
we're
too
just
far.
having fun here, bro.
So
we're
the
just
Earth-
having fun
The
here.
Earth is flat, but the moon is round.
So,
Well, it depends on who you ask.
Brandon asks Shane a question. How do you tell the difference between slow growth and just being stuck in the same old patterns? That is a great question.
That is a great question. Brandon, thanks for writing in, man. God bless you.
Absolutely.
Reading this question, the first thing that comes to my mind is, sometimes it's a long process. Sometimes it's a quick process, depending on the battles that we're fighting or whatever.
Yes, sir.
But one thing does remain: are you gaining ground or losing ground? Right. If you are stuck in the same patterns, I love what the Proverbs says. A dog returns to its own vomit, as a fool returns to his own folly. But a righteous man, though he falls 7 times, he gets back up. Right. And he keeps going. And so
You're not content to wallow.
yeah,
in it.
you're not content to wallow. You're not making excuses. It's not, oh, this is the way I am, or even just sometimes those things don't happen. Sometimes we just go back to our own sin and we just ask for forgiveness and just do that over and over and over and over again. So that's why I say, are you gaining ground or are you losing ground? Because
Does that go back to the conversation, Shane, about conviction versus guilt?
yeah,
It does.
Yeah, in a way, absolutely.
If you're involved in a sin, because we all have that sin that so easily besets us. Hebrews
all of
is
us
really
do.
clear on that, right? Some guys struggle with lust, some guys struggle with greed, some guys struggle with temper. But the question is, and Pastor Ty taught a message on this, about a year ago, 6 months ago, something. The question is, are you really struggling with it, or
Yeah.
are you just enjoying it?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah, there it is.
I had a phone call from a gentleman out of this area. He was needed some help and all that stuff, and we were talking about this very thing. And I told him what I used to tell the kids in youth group, particularly the young men, when it came to lust and everything.
Right, of course, yeah.
And I said, what do you think God is going to honor more when you stand before him and he judges you in this particular area? Do you think that God is going to say, when you say, you know what, Lord, I struggled with this thing, but I just had to have my cell phone. I couldn't get rid of my Netflix. I couldn't get rid of my TV. I couldn't get accountability. It was just really hard, Lord. Do you think he's really going to honor that? Or is he going to honor the person that stands before him and says, God, I wept over my sin. I threw my phone away. I got a flip phone. I tried everything I could think of to honor you. I fought this thing.
Right, there it is.
And I still struggled with it, but I wanted you. Which person do you think God is going to say, you know what? Right on, man.
Yeah.
I really doubt the person who just gives excuses of like, well, I couldn't do that, all these other things. Because Jesus says make great sacrifices, right? Pluck out your eye. It's better to go to heaven with one eye than to go to hell with two eyes and be in the eternal fire. It's better to go to heaven with one hand than go to hell with two hands and suffer eternal fire. And what's funny about that, when he says pluck out your right eye, your dominant eye, pluck out or chop off your right hand, is right after he talks about lust. And I'll let you guys put that one together. What do we lust with? Our eyes and our hands, 100%. And so you got to make great sacrifices. And so, Brandon, I hope that helps you. If you're stuck, here's the good news. God is always willing to help you get out of the mire. And he is right there saying, hey, man, turn to me and I will be right there with you. And we don't have to wallow in our sin. We don't have to be stuck in our sin. Christ has saved us not to be slaves of sin, but Romans 6 says that we are slaves of righteousness now.
Beautiful. Hey, Steve Larson writes in and he just says, I've really appreciated the conversations lately. They've been really solid. Thought Dennis was a great guest. Thanks, Steve. We will pass that on to Dennis.
Absolutely.
In fact, Dennis, I believe, is going to be here this Saturday at the men's conference.
Nice.
Kufi is going to have a booth here. And so, man, I hope you're coming, Steve. It's going to be a great conference, and you can actually talk to Dennis yourself. Aaron Schultz from Idaho Falls says, hey, when you talked about waiting versus avoiding something, that really hit closer than I expected. I've had something on my mind for a while now that I keep saying I'm praying about, but if I'm being honest, I already know what I'm supposed to do. I think I just don't want to deal with that, with what comes after I make that decision. Not really a question, more of a comment, but I do enjoy the podcast and wanted to say that stuck with me. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I am as we sit in the studio, I have a decision that I have to make in 2 hours. And I'm going to make that decision in 2 hours. I didn't make it this morning, and I'm going to have to make that decision. But I think I already know what the decision is, but I'm still wrestling with it. But once you know what this, like I'm still running pros and cons, right? Because I know there's going to be some backlash if I make that decision, right? So I know
he's firing me because I don't believe in the moon landing.
Well, no, I'm not worried about that because I can call Elon and I can get you up there. So I would get you there.
All I can see is Ty looking at Shane saying, "One of these days, Shane, bow soon right to the moon."
It's to the moon, Alice. To the moon. You know what? Hey, Ruffy.
I had a good boss that always used, this just isn't working out.
Well, and I need to make that decision, and I'm frustrated because I always hate it when there's enough pros on both sides that it's a wash, right? There's like the pro and con list is a wash on it. But then I love what Dave said a couple programs ago, like, but what am I called to do?
Yeah.
Right? There are things that I am called to do and things that I am not called to do. Right. And so I'm struggling with yes be yes and no be no, right? Mm-hmm, when you give your word and you swear to your own hurt and you do not relent. But then the issue is sometimes you're like, man, because if you know you got to make a decision, well, just make the decision. Just make the call and do it.
Pull the bandage off fast.
Yeah,
so you're
just
saying
pull it off fast.
The pros and cons list is equal, but there's still something
in me
that is saying you know the answer.
Right, you know the answer, but it comes back to, what are you called to do? Because there's something you're called to do, and I'm going to bless what you're called to do. But then I'm like, I'm not calling you. So it's like, I'm not calling you to do that. So like I struggled when I went back to school. I struggled with that at first. But then when I realized I wasn't going back to school for music. I was going back to school for what I'm doing. So it's like, it's one of those weird things where like, am I doing what I'm doing because that's what I'm called to do? Or am I doing what I'm doing because the opportunity's there? It goes back to good opportunity versus God's will.
Right,
like the devil will pour out good in front of you to distract you.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so the devil's throwing out good, and then he's the accuser, because when you reject good, the accuser of the brethren, even in your own thought life, you start to process that as, oh, I'm not. So it goes back to the guilt conversation we were having. Like,
Right.
oh, the devil put out good in front of me. I've said no to good, but now I feel guilty because I've said no to something that was good because I'm trying to say yes to God and not yes to good. And so now I'm being real honest with you, Aaron. I'm with you right now. Literally, I'm looking at my watch. I have a decision I have to make in 2 hours, and I'm going through what you're going through. But I do feel like I know what I've got to do. And I'm just processing that. But once you get to the point where you know what you're supposed to do, well, then just do it. Like
So,
Dave said, pull the Band-Aid off.
What was the decider for Eve to eat the fruit? When she saw that it was good for food,
Yes.
and to make one wise,
Yep.
right?
So she didn't think of the backlash, right?
No, in fact,
and if we
right.
know a decision is correct, so we know the answer, right? We've weighed the pros and cons. Are you just not making the decision because you know there's going to be backlash?
What's interesting is in the Hall of Faith, right? What you guys are talking about, Moses, right? It's very interesting what the writer of Hebrews says about Moses. It says in starting in verse 23 of chapter 11, it says, by faith Moses, when he was born, was hidden by 3 months by his parent, for 3 months by his parents, because they saw he was a beautiful child, and they were not afraid of the king's edict. By faith Moses, when he had grown up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to endure ill treatment with the people of God, rather than to enjoy the passing pleasures of sin, right? I love that. And because sin does disguise itself as good or pleasurable, right? Because good is very subjective, right? And so just because something is quote unquote good or pleasing doesn't mean that it is godly, like we are talking about here.
Well, and Dave's point to back in the garden,
Right.
It's like she saw that it was good.
it's good.
And that's what the devil still does today. The devil comes slithering into our space where we're trying to have fellowship and do God stuff, right? And so that's what they were supposed to be doing, God stuff. They were supposed to be tending to the garden and doing all that stuff. And the devil slithers in and messes it all up, saying, hey, but it's good. Look at it. It's good. And then she looks at it. Oh, yeah, it is good. And I think that even in my world now, I'm really having to process that. Like, this is a good thing. Is this the God thing? Is this the thing the Lord has given my life to do? Or is this a distraction, right? Here, interesting thing. So I was talking to Dennis about the CUFI thing in DC in July.
Oh, Summit.
The summit. And he was asking me about that. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, that to me, we're talking about Israel in that context, makes sense to me from a biblical perspective, right? Going and being a Christian lobbyist doesn't, like, I'm not going to, like, does that make sense? Like, I'm going to talk about Israel because we're talking about Israel, right?
Right.
We're talking about the scripture. And so it really is an interesting dynamic because what are we called to do? What am I called to do? And that's when you talk about, we've talked about leadership and talked about doing the things that need to get done or dealing with internal issues. You can be in leadership for 30 years and have God say, okay, now the thing you've been doing, I don't want you to do that no more.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now I want you to do something else because I'm in control. Again, it goes back to the detour we were talking about, right? God says turn left. And then we turn left, and we're just going to go left. Well, we're just going to keep going straight on after that turn until he tells us to do something else. And I think sometimes we do struggle. We struggle with dealing with the difference between good and God. And I know I struggle with it because there's a lot of great and good opportunities that come up in ministry, but are they is that the right thing for me to do? And unfortunately, I love your life verse more, just
It's a good one.
Yeah,
It's simple.
Just
It's simple.
yeah, live a simple life and don't muddle in other people's business.
Praise God that our God not only gives us good things to do and a purpose, but he redeems all the junk that we do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When I pick the wrong decision, or when I think I'm doing the right thing and it turns out, oh my goodness, this was totally, Shane's flesh, Shane's idea or whatever. God is still good that he redeems that and can work through that, Well,
the other thing I think about with what you were saying, Ty, was, when we get our computer screens up, or your tablets, or your, the Kindles or whatever, you can actually put your finger on that icon and just hold it there. And then that little drop down menu comes down that says not interested.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon those things stop coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
do.
stop coming up.
Well, and Ethan Cole sent a note about Dave. Dave, said, don't measure your walk against someone else's highlights. Highlight moments, which is what we get in social media a lot. Like, oh, look at these people. They're being so great and so successful. And that makes sense. He's like, I'm not sure how to actually do that during the week. So I think that makes sense. But I think sometimes we have to start saying no, not interested to things, to be good leaders, to understand the detours in life, to all the things we've talked about for the last week or so. I think really come down to, but I do like this idea of no comparison.
Right.
Because if I don't compare myself to another person, then I'm not tempted.
Right.
Right.
I want to be like that. What have you got that you didn't receive? Paul says to the Corinthians, right?
Yeah.
What you have, you've received from the Lord. So learn to be content with that, rather than saying, well, here I listen to you guys, and I pastor of a church of 120 people, and I know that Water Springs, any given Sunday or weekend, you guys have 1,500 to 2,000 people walking through your doors. Gosh, how do I compare my ABC Bible church to Water Springs? Well, it's real simple.
Right.
You don't.
Don't do it.
God has given you that great privilege of serving wherever you are. If you're in sales, if you're a mom, my goodness, you've got the most important ministry on the planet. Whatever God has given you to do, be grateful with that. And when you look at someone else and you say, how come those guys have carts and I don't? Well, it's because they have a heavier load than you. And, you have the privilege of carrying the ark on your shoulder rather than having all of these boards and curtains and the rings from the tabernacle that God says, well, you need a cart. And he's, well, that guy's got an easy life. He has a cart to pull around. Yeah, but it's also a heavy load. And God has said, you know what, for you, you have the great privilege of just serving me. So wherever you are, learn to be content with it.
Absolutely. Hey, you're loved, your family. God bless you. And we will talk to you tomorrow. You guys are a blessing. We appreciate you. But hey,
yes, we do.
Come out to, obviously, church tonight, tomorrow, Danny Goki, this Saturday, men's conference. Come out and join us. We'd love to see you there.
You've been listening to Pastors Live, a Rev FM production podcast. Join us again for more Bible talk, laughter, and unexpected tangents. Questions or feedback? Pastors Live at therev.fm. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.